Hey guys, what's up? MajesticGaming here, and today I want to do something a little bit different and just kind of go through my pretty much 10 favorite games of all time, and not really of all time, more just kind of in more recent years, kind of modern games. I don't really know what I'm going to call this, but pretty much it's all somewhat recent games that maybe didn't get as much attention as they should, or they're all just games that I would consider some of my favorites ever made, some that are really, really good, and if you haven't played any of these next 10 games I'm about to talk about, I think you definitely should. Quick reminders, all of this is completely subjective. It's all based on my personal opinions, and there will be a lot of me just kind of talking about like stories I have with these games and just why I enjoy them so much. So it's not going to be like a super objective thing. Talking about this, like some of these are parts of series where like they have other games in the series I can say are better than this game, but this is just the one that I enjoy the most or that means the most to me, and just things like that. And also it's important to keep in mind that on this list, I am pretty much just going to be talking about this in a more generalized way. I'm not really going to be like scripting this too much. This isn't really scripted at all. I'm just kind of me going through these 10 games. I pretty much know what I want to say and just kind of go through and talk about why I love them, and then you guys maybe can leave me some of your favorite games down in the comments below. And I just thought this was fun because I've been thinking lately about some of these games that have come out that I really, really enjoy. So starting with the first game, and once again, and they already are in no particular order, just a list of 10. Starting with the first one is going to be, obviously there has to be a Halo game on here, and I'm going to choose Halo Reach. Halo Reach is really something special to me. I remember buying that game at GameStop right when it first released for $60 all the way back in 2010. And really, it's just a game that I pretty much love every facet of. The story isn't the best story ever. Yes, it contradicts the Fall of Reach book. Yes, the characters are kind of stale and cliche, but I kind of think of it more as about the event and kind of the scale of this invasion of Reach and the setting and just everything about that. I think it did so well. The tone and the atmosphere, everything about that, kind of the dread, the sense of just like depression that you get from playing that game, I really love. And just everything about all of that stuff. The soundtrack is great. The gameplay, I know some people have their problems with. It's not true authentic Halo like I would love. I don't like the weird like different loadouts with the different like not balanced starts. I don't like armor lock. That's weird, but as a whole, gameplay, I really enjoyed the campaign. And even in multiplayer, I think it's really enjoyable. I love just this game by far has, I would say, the most amount of content. Maybe Halo 5 is like kind of getting close to it now with all its updates, but that game probably has some of the most like content in any Halo game, which with all the different modes, and Forge World's awesome. And it's not a true like skybox, but Forge World was really cool just to have and be able to mess around on, and just I love that. And just everything about that game, I just love the feeling of it, the art style, and yes, it probably isn't the best Halo game, even though in my opinion it's one of the best. Halo 3 is really close up there just because everything about that game I also love. But talking about what I have the most personal experiences from, I have so many good memories of me just playing Reach up with my friends late at night, playing on Hemorrhage, and just playing so many great matches. And Halo 3, I just wasn't old enough at the time to get that same experience, so that's why Halo Reach is my first game. Second game is a BioShock game that is actually going to be BioShock Infinite. So, I had heard about BioShock, the series, for a while. I never played any of the games, and then I believe at some point BioShock Infinite became free to play for a Games with Gold thing, so I was like, whatever, I'll try it, and I had no clue what was going on because I hadn't played the original BioShock, but I played it and absolutely loved it. This is maybe going to be a controversial opinion, but I think the gameplay here is almost a little bit more engaging for me personally, just kind of my interest, than the original BioShock. I just love all the stuff with the vigors you could do, and yeah, I know like that you have the same kind of powers in BioShock, but just there was something about the gameplay in Infinite that I just loved so much. It was just super engaging, and I really enjoyed it, and always kept me like, it just kept me entertained and interested. And even the slower parts of the game where like you weren't really doing too much, I just enjoyed the whole aesthetic. Columbia I think is a really cool setting. I don't like it as much as Rapture, but I still think it's really cool. And then just the whole story with Booker and Elizabeth and the way it played out being a pretty original story for me. When I played it, it just had me thinking for weeks, and by the ending, my mind was just completely blown, and especially like at the end when you don't really know what's happening, you're just getting all these plot twists thrown at you left and right, and you're like, what's happening? And it's just really cool, and I love it, and yes, it's not a perfect game. Yes, the story gets a little convoluted. Yes, they try to appeal to a more, I guess, current gameplay audience, I guess, with its thing than kind of sticking to its roots, but for me, it worked, and I really loved it. I still really love the first BioShock. I think it maybe is better, but for me, I like BioShock Infinite a little bit more, and for me, that's my second pick. The next is going to be a multiplayer game that released in 2015, Rainbow Six Siege. This game has pretty much changed like how I've played Xbox. I have not put this much time into a multiplayer game, I don't think, ever. Even Halo Reach, I don't think I put this much time into a Halo game. I bought this game with some of my friends like kind of early 2016, and we've probably been playing it on a weekly basis ever since, and it's now 2019, and I just love it so much. Right when it came out, and even still today, the gameplay of it is so unique, and it's just so engaging, and it is hard to find a game where getting kills is more satisfying than in Rainbow. And then we're getting killed is more frustrating. Just because you get outplayed by other players, and you can actually get better. You actually feel like you're kind of in control of your actions. You feel yourself improving, and especially with all the different operators. And it's just so much fun for me and my friends. We would play like Halo games, but that pretty much would be the only multiplayer thing we would play. And then for us to finally be able to find this game that we could play competitively with friends and like get really into, it was just super awesome. And even though we're not playing it as much like these days, it's still really cool. I love that this game has come so far from its launch, and I just love everything about this world. I love the operators, I just love the gameplay is pretty much what sets it apart, and just the style of it that I didn't think I'd ever be interested in a game like that. The fact that Rainbow was able to do that with such tight and great gameplay really stands out to me, and I love it, and I will definitely be a game that I remember for the rest of my life just because of how much time I've put into it and how much fun I've had with my friends. Speaking of a game that I will never forget, is going to be The Last of Us. This is obviously a pretty cliche choice. Everyone knows this game is great, and I didn't get a PlayStation until, I want to say, Christmas of 2016, so I was really late playing this game, and I finally played the remastered version on PS4, and it was actually better than I thought it'd be. I'd heard like, oh, it's one of the best games ever made, it's great, you're gonna love it, and I did. I absolutely thought it was incredible. Yes, the gameplay is very on rails. Naughty Dog likes their linear stuff. It's like, oh, you're not even playing a game, you're just like watching a movie. But for me, I thought the gameplay was enough. Yes, the raft sections are where you're like with Ellie pushing her on a raft, if I can remember correctly. Those were probably the worst part of the game. But the story there is just so incredible, and the presentation, the performances in that game stand out as being really, really good. And it's just everyone said everything there needs to say about that game. I think it's really, really incredible. It's a great time, and just there hasn't been a game with such an engaging narrative that I've played probably since then, and I'm excited to see the next one. Not much to say, the game's been talked about a bunch, but it's a simple game. The gameplay I think is fun, and the story obviously propels it to a whole nother level. Next is a game that I don't think got nearly as much attention as it should, and that's going to be Dying Light. Dying Light, I believe, released in 2015, and it was the parkour zombie game that I thought, like, I was like, alright, that looks cool, maybe I'll get it when it goes on sale or something, and I played it a little bit, and then I decided to play it, I believe, it was around E3 last year of like 2018, because I had all my stuff set up waiting for E3, and in between conferences, I was getting really close to beating Dying Light. And so I finally played it and beat all of it maybe in like about a week, and that game, I can't really nail down what exactly is so good about it, but it was just really fun. The controls are absolutely, like, they're really tight. The gameplay I just think is really fun. It controls well, I want to say, and I feel like it's better than a lot of other games try to be. Like, it doesn't get overwhelmed with throwing too many different things at you, like with all the different weapon stats and all that, and repairing and all your materials. It keeps it pretty streamlined, pretty simple, and easy to understand, but it's still really, really enjoyable when you're just going around, just killing everyone, or killing a bunch of zombies. I love the aspect of night and how different it is compared to the day, and I also love just the gameplay of just running around with all your different parkour abilities when you get like the grappling hook and just doing that, and just the variety you have and kind of the different engagements with all your different weapons and all your different tools and all that thing, I just thought was really cool. And even the story I just thought was really cool. I forgot who voiced the main character in that game. I looked him up, but I thought he did a really, really good job. Just something about his performance, even though it wasn't like mocap or anything, it was just a voice acting performance, I thought was really good. And the story I found engaging, I was interested, and by the end, when you're kind of in this boss fight, I was like, alright, this is awesome. And something about that game really stood with me, and I even went and played the DLC. I still haven't beat it yet, but I'm really, really impressed with that game, just what they were able to do. How it created such a unique, awesome game in the crowded zombie genre of games is really respectable. And I'm super excited for Dying Light 2, and hopefully it will turn out to be just as good, if not better, than the first game. Next is gonna be, alright, don't laugh at me, Minecraft. Yes, this game is, I don't even know what I can say about it. It's like a cult, like everyone knows what it is. Yes, it's a kid's game. Yes, it's been joked about so much. It's just a meme at this point. But if you actually played Minecraft, like, originally, like, when it was popular, not even when it was popular, but like, that game is awesome. Like, I love that game. It's just, like, going looking back on it now, it's like, yeah, it's Minecraft, but like, if you have the memories of just building a survival town where all you guys have to, like, you all build your different houses, and I just remember vividly the first time I ever played Minecraft. I think it was like 2012. It was right when it had come on to the Xbox 360 arcade, I believe, and there wasn't even like creative mode yet. There wasn't even hunger bars. There was nothing. And I found, I believe it was like in the tutorial, yeah, I was playing on the tutorial world, and there was a house, and I was like, well, I kind of want to build my own house, and I had the thought, well, can I just move this house that's already built, move it somewhere else? And I started mining the blocks, and I was like, oh my god, I can just mine every single part of this house and just rebuild it. And yeah, that game, like, is pretty simple today, but it's awesome. It proved that graphics aren't all that matters. It has a super unique style to it, and the, like, kind of extent that it went on to with all the different mods and servers and just things like that. I just have such great memories playing, like, Pixelmon. It's really universal. It has, like, so much appeal, and ignoring all the memes and stuff that is at this point of just being Minecraft, the game is really, really cool, and I love it, and I don't think most people will ever forget about it, and just how popular it's become really shows how much it has impacted the gaming industry. And overall, I love it. I think Minecraft's great. Next is a very well-received game that didn't get as much attention as it should have, that released in 2016, because it was surrounded by Battlefield 1 and Infinite Warfare, Titanfall 2. This game I've talked about a lot in the last couple weeks thanks to Apex Legends, but I love it. I think it's great. I like the first Titanfall. I think it's fine, but Titanfall 2, the first thing was the campaign, which I thought was great. The story was actually pretty good, like the whole thing with Jack and BT, is that the name of the Titan? I don't remember, but their whole relationship I thought was cool. I think the Titanfall world's pretty cool, but more than just their story, which is kind of cliche and is pretty simple, but it's not bad by any standards, and kind of where that goes towards the end I really appreciated. But what really stands out in the campaign is the level design. It is incredible. They have you, I believe there's only 8 missions, but they have you going from missions where you have this cool time machine device, and then this mission where you're like, they're on this really cool exotic planet, and then a mission where you and your Titan are like running across spaceships, jumping across each other, fighting, and it's awesome. And then one from you where you have the smart pistol and you're like running across a bunch of like corridors just with enemies. One where you have to like traverse a bunch of stuff that's sideways in an agricultural thing, and just all these different missions that I just remember so vividly. And it's been 2 years since I played that campaign, and I was able to recall just all those missions because of how much they stood out to me, and I really want to go back and replay it soon. But I just think the campaign was such a great move, and especially since it wasn't in the first game, just to include that I think was really awesome. And then also the gameplay is great. Just something about it, you're like, you feel when you kill your enemies, like it just feels good, kind of like in Rainbow. It just has like a punch to it, and just the wall running and the Titan aspect, it never gets old, and it's awesome. And how great of developers Respawn are, and the fact that there were no microtransactions pretty much, and just all the free content they kept on giving. I just love everything about that game. I love it as a game, it's incredible, but I also love what it stands for in the gaming industry, especially as we have a bunch of trash coming out that kind of goes against all the great business practices that Titanfall 2 stood for. So it's a shame that Titanfall 3 is probably never going to come out. 3 more games. We're going to move on to one Telltale game, since I do really love those games. Probably my favorite. It's tied kind of with Tales from the Borderlands, which I do want to quickly point out I think is a really good game. If you haven't played it, you should get it. I find it really hard to get things to actually make me laugh. Like, there's not a lot of comedy stuff that I find funny, but that game is one of the few things that actually had me just like busting out laughing, and I think it's great. But the game I am talking about is The Wolf Among Us. This game is probably Telltale's best in my opinion, and I just love everything. I love how weird this game is. I love the universe, kind of its own lore it has with all these like fairy tale creatures living in New York, but it's all like gritty and mature. I love the style of it, and the performances, all the characters are really interesting, and I don't want to spoil it too much if you've never played this game, but just the concept of it really got interested me, and the story was just engaging, and I loved it. And it was one where also a lot of like Telltale's games, it didn't really feel like your choices mattered too much. It was just really cool, and by the end of it I was just left like shocked by how much I loved that game, since I wasn't expecting to that much. Next is a game that many people will consider one of the best of all time, and it's a very obvious choice: GTA 5. I don't need to say too much about this. Everyone knows how great of a game this is. The story mode is pretty good. It's enjoyable. It's what a lot of people find fun. But for me, the main appeal lies in the multiplayer, and there is just nothing else. I mean, there are things like it, but there's nothing else as good as it. It is like chock full of stuff to do, and there is just no more fun feeling than getting with like a bunch of your friends and all driving to the Los Santos airport, and you guys all loading up in a plane. It's just, I don't need to say much about it. I have such good memories playing this. I think it's great, and just the multiplayer, although it's been monetized to death now, and they charge ridiculous prices for all the shark cards and all that, and Red Dead 2 was a little disappointing to me, the online. I love GTA 5, more specifically GTA Online, and I'll never forget all the times I spent in that game just doing random crap with my friends and how much fun it was. And the last game is going to be a game in the Batman Arkham series, not Arkham Origins or Arkham City, but actually Arkham Knight. Now, yes, I know this game was disappointing to a lot of people, but for me, I had heard that a new Arkham game was coming out. I never played any of the other ones, so I played Arkham City right before this came out, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really good, and looking back on it, Arkham City is probably the better game, but I can't ignore how excited I was for Arkham Knight, seeing those TV spots and just getting so excited of going to pre-order it and then picking it up, and I do really like Arkham Knight. I think that the gameplay is better than it's ever been in the series. I think it's really, really solid. Although the Batmobile was overused a bunch in some of the missions and it just kind of defeated the purpose of Batman and of just kind of gliding, I thought at some points in the story it was really fun. And just pretty much everything that I loved in the other games was present. The world I thought was really cool. A lot of the side missions were not great, I will say that, especially the DLC turned out pretty garbage. Or most of the DLC, the Batgirl one was good. But as a whole, I just really enjoyed it. The story is kind of weak. I mean, I can't deny that. What's that dude? The Arkham Knight's reveal, that was stupid. And yeah, the story I was like interested in, but it was more just to see where it would go, not because I was like, oh my god, obviously I care what happens to this Batman, but the story, yeah, I can't defend, wasn't very good. But everything else about the game, I just love, and I've put so much time into that game just doing, like, AR challenges and just Riddler stuff and exploring the world. The gameplay is just a blast, like I said. And when I just picture Batman just gliding across that city with the rain, the graphics still look incredible today. I just can't ignore how that makes me feel, and it definitely is going to be a game that I remember for a long time, since that is one of my favorites. So yeah, guys, that was a list of my 10 favorite games, pretty much 10 modern games, whatever I'm going to call it. But yeah, those were some of them: Halo Reach, BioShock Infinite, Rainbow Six Siege, The Last of Us, Dying Light, Minecraft, Titanfall 2, The Wolf Among Us, Grand Theft Auto 5, and Batman Arkham Knight. Those are 10 of my favorite games of all time. All of those I love dearly. I would say you need to play all of them at least once if you have not. A lot of them are older, like Halo Reach you can get for really cheap, BioShock Infinite, pretty much all of these actually. I believe the most recent release is Titanfall 2, and that was 2016. So yeah, and that game is like, what, that was $4 the other day. So you don't need to worry about these being too expensive. These are all pretty cheap games. But please, if you have not played games like anything in the BioShock series, Last of Us, Dying Light, Titanfall 2, Wolf Among Us, GTA 5, any of the Arkham games, please play all of those. And also let me know what you thought of my list. Do you disagree with a lot of these? I don't know if you really can, because it's all just my subjective opinion. But tell me what you think of these games. And more specifically, if you also like a lot of these games I talked about, let me know and we can talk about it. And maybe I'll talk about a lot of these other games more in the future, depending on if people like them. And we'll just see what happens. Alright, thank you guys for watching. Majestic Gaming.